that the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. And even in Romans, we're told that about men like these, they profess themselves to be wise, but they become fools, and they change the incorruptible God into an image made like a corruptible man, into beasts, into four-footed things, into creeping things. Because they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. They didn't want to come to God because they wanted to be their own God, go their own way, do their own thing. But the evidence for the existence of a creator is so overwhelming that you would have to be absolutely blind to see it. And of course the Bible does say that if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost and perishing, whom the God of this age, Satan, Lucifer, has blinded the minds of them that believe not, lest the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ, which is the express image of God, should shine on them. If you look around at nature, and you look at all of the complexity of design and all of the intricacies that we see all around us, there is no way that this just evolved by the accidental, random coming together of the elements to create it. It's just ridiculous and impossible, and common sense tells every human being that. Not to mention the fact that God has said that He has shown Himself to every human being. And God does not lie. So, if somebody doesn't accept God, they don't accept God because they don't want to be responsible for the one who has actually put them here. If I were to show you a pen, or a cup, or anything, and I asked you where it came from, if you were going to use logic and reason, you'd say, well, somebody made it. The idea that something as simple as this pen right here could just appear all by itself from thin air, well, it's just impossible, and everybody with common sense knows it. And yet we have all around us nature, as well as our own physical bodies, that testify to the existence of God, that is so complicated and so complex that it supersedes anything that man can do. In fact, even to this day, scientists, and I'm probably speaking to scientists so they know that this is a fact, though they have spent lifetimes, many of them together, to map out even the mechanics and the chemical interactions of a single cell, they still have those maps incomplete, even though they take up an entire freaking wall, excuse my French. And it's very perplexing even for the trained scientists to understand how even one simple cell works. It seems impossible. Unless that it could even be in existence unless it was created by something far superior to it. If there's a design, common sense dictates a designer. Period. You can reach into an empty apple barrel for an eternity of time, and to try to get an apple. And if the apple barrel is empty, you can spend an eternity of time trying to get an apple, and you will come out empty-handed every time. Just like Lao Tzu said, nothing breeds nothing. Now, I'm not denying that these people have contributed in some great ways to the world, but when God says that none does good, that they're all corrupt, and none does good, He is talking, and no one does good. He's saying that when you would deny His existence, then you go your own way. You're going to continue you're going to continue in an unrepentant heart, and you're going to wind up in hell, just as He promised you will, because He's going to judge you someday, and He's going to judge you based upon the moral laws that you have violated. You know, the 10 Commandments. You know, lying, stealing, lust. You can commit lust. You can commit adultery. Either actually do the act, or you can do it in your mind, in your heart. Murder, Same thing. You can either actually do an act like that, or if you even hate another person, God declares that you're a murderer. He's going to judge your heart as well as your actions. And there is appointed a day of wrath. God says He has appointed a day in which He's going to judge the entire world in righteousness, and that if a payment is not in place for your violating of God's moral laws, He's going to demand justice on you. Because you've broken His 10 Commandments, you've broken His laws, and you've actually made this God angry that you say you don't believe in. And you're going to stand before this living God and give account of yourself whether you believe so or not. It doesn't matter to God whether or not you choose to believe in Him. That's your business. But you will pay the consequences for not doing so. Because He exists, and He has made it very evident in the things that He has made. Even His eternal power and Godhead, so that man is without excuse. You know, if you just take a look around at the complexity of design all around you, that is an evidence for the existence of God. And even with the simple cell situation, I mean, it's biochemically codependent. I mean, you know, it kind of works this way. The protein is the information that is encoded on the DNA, but you can't read that DNA. You need proteins to get them out, and it's kind of a codependent situation. It's kind of like this. It's kind of goes back to what came first, the chicken or the egg. Did proteins come or did DNA come? What came first? And when I'm talking about this biochemical codependence that we see in nature, in living organisms, well, what I'm saying is that it's kind of like this, putting it in very simple layman's terms. Imagine that I gave you a tape with all of the instructions on how to build a tape player. But if you don't have a tape player to play the tape, you cannot get the information off that tape to play the player. And that is what the cell is faced with in this biochemical codependent situation. You need proteins to get the information out of the DNA, but the proteins themselves is the information encoded in the DNA. So it's biochemically codependent. It could not have happened in isolation. And the interesting thing about studying cells and about chemical reactions and stuff, that even in the simplest cell, I mean, there's literally thousands of chemical transfers and different things that go on in the cell. And if one part of that cell should fail or not be there, and then the one chemical transfer just fail at all, then the cell itself will either fail or die. And so it's very, very complex, to the point that even the top scientists don't really fully understand it. Nor have they been able to successfully yet, even with all of their genius, map it all out. And here's another thing. You're going to tell me that no intelligence was required to create the universe and everything we see around us. And yet, intelligent men have spent their whole lives in laboratories trying to create life just to prove that no intelligence was necessary to create it in the first place. Brilliant men have been trying for a long time now, and always failing to create even the simplest life. The most they've ever created was amino acids. That's it, but not life. So you mean to tell me that when brilliant brains, brilliant intelligences come together deliberately to try to form life, even when they can break down biological life and see what the basic building blocks are, but yet they can't seem to get it to form and come to life, you're going to tell me these brilliant men who have this high intelligence coming together, putting their heads together, who can't even form the simplest life, are going to have us believe that when they can't do it on purpose, that somehow all of this happened by accident? The fool has said in his heart, there is no God.